scripture is Matthew's 5:1-12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down with his disciples, came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for there is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Who hunger, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the righteousness for sake, for there's in the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecuted you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way the persecuted the prophets who were before you." And may God add a blessing to his reading.
Yes.
Good. You think it's easy? I encourage you to come and to be part of reading the word. Can somebody turn the heater down, Louis?
Yeah, thank you.
It's like warm in here.
Nice.
It's not just the Holy Spirit either. Thank you. Matthew talks about, in his version of what we just called, is the Beatitudes. And in his message, Jesus is saying that he wants more friends and not fans. More friends and not fans. More people who are willing to take the walk instead of just talk about it. More disciples and friends that walk with humility instead of bringing all the hoopla, especially in the face of adversity. Matthew emphasizes that to be a disciple means you are willing to live and to walk in the ways of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus. Saints, you are not just an observer. We have a lot of observer Christian type people. You and I have a choice. We have a choice. And I believe that we are at a point in history when it's essential for us to make the choice to walk with the qualities of kindness and generosity and openness and courage and love and all the unhindered blessings of the Beatitudes.
Amen.
At this critical point, we must live them and walk in them in these ways. And I would suggest to us that it's an intention. It's not just going to happen because we sit in the sanctuary on Sunday. We must be intentional about planting these kinds of seeds. We want, we want all the blessings, but do we really want to do the necessary work to have those blessings? Because it's work. If you want to be blessed, I suggest to us this morning that there's work involved in the blessings. Just so you know, the word blessed is the first word, of course, of each beatitude. And the literal translation of the word is, "Oh, blessedness of." Oh, blessedness of. The beatitude combines the elements of both promise and challenge. Promise and challenge. I was doing some research and I came across the New Century Bible commentary for this text, and I want to quote what it says. And I didn't have enough room on your handout to put it on there, but this is really good. This is what it says, and I quote: "These forms of blessedness are orientations of thought and action, along with their subsequent state of life. These are made possible by God's presence and bear the stamp of divine approval. The blessings is not a state of passive resignation to present hardships. It is a positive gift given to those who follow Jesus with faith despite present adversities." End of quote. I thought that was really powerful, and it explains to me that no matter what, we have to show up.
Right.
We have to show up. In other words, we have to be willing to show up in spite of whatever might be going on. Of course, if you're contagious, we don't want you to show up. Right?
Right.
Matthew wants his readers to view the Sermon on the Mount as a definitive interpretation of the Torah, which is, of course, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. If you didn't know. Now you know. Jesus does not cancel this law, the law of Moses, but by substituting some kind of new legal code. But for Matthew, Jesus fulfills the Torah by providing its proper interpretation. The Sermon on the Mount is not some historical great speech, although I would think that it was a great speech. But it's not some philosophical thing full of abstractions, but it is a code of behavior for shaping a community of faith in the ways that calls conventional wisdom into question. It disrupts the status quo. And it is intended to reshape it. Now, it will not be a community of observers who sit passively by in a community of friends, but it is the friends and the disciples who take this to the streets. The friends and the disciples who walk with humility. The friends and the disciples who are willing to speak boldly to the unjust ways. This is us.
Yep.
Saints.
That's right. Yep.
This is us. I think the passage for today reminds me of Micah 6:8 that says, "God has shown you, O mortal," or "O humanity," or "O you person."
Yeah.
Insert your name. "O Deb." "O Nancy." "O everyone." Yeah. What is good? And what does the sovereign God require of you? Here it is. To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. pretty powerful. Amen?
Yeah.
Pretty powerful. On Thursday, no, was it Thursday? I don't know. This week, I met with Jackie because, you know, she's having radiation treatment, and I was there with her because she's scared.
I know the feeling.
And she called me. Can you come? And so the things that she shared with me this couple of things. She said, first of all, I want to tell you this first time that I had cancer, I was mad as hell at God. And those are her words. And everything that went along with it. I said, were you mad at me? Yes. I love that. Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, she went through this and she got through that first section, and this is like 4.5 years later. And she said, you know, Pastor, I want you to tell your people, our people, to show up. I want you to tell them that it doesn't matter what you're going through, but you got to show up. You got to be faithful. It doesn't matter because, you know, God has a plan and will use whatever it is that you're going through, but you have got to show up. I said, well, that'll preach. And so I said, Jackie, when you get better, you can come and tell us yourself.
Amen.
And she will. We know Sister so-and-so will show up. Her ways of showing up now are different because she realizes that God is with her. You see, when you know that God is with you, you don't have to make some lame excuse. God's there and already knows what you're going through. You just have to be willing to show up. I've had to show up in a couple of extra special ways as well with people in my own family. I've had to learn to act justly, to love mercy, to seek to walk with humility because we disagree and we agree to disagree. Praise God. Yes. But see, you know, I didn't cut off the communications. They did. Sad that we can't understand that somehow in our society that it seems to apply, or some folks apply, the effects of things that happen affects individuals personally. And you know, we have vulnerable among us. And yet, some look with a blind eye. Jesus exhorts us to be obedient in the ways of God. Not in the ways that we want, but in the ways of God. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk with humility with one another. That means we can agree to disagree respectfully. So are you a fan of Jesus? Or are you a friend?
Amen.
A follower? See, a fan admires Jesus' spirit, Jesus' teaching, but a friend actually follows them. They show up. Matter of fact, they sign up. When the sign-up sheet's there, they put their name on it. They sign up. And then they show up. Fans of Jesus admire his idealism and spirit of sacrifice as they go on their own path, a path paved by common sense and self-preservation. They could rewrite the Beatitudes to, blessed are the self-reliant, not the poor in spirit. Blessed are the cheerful, not those who mourn. Blessed are the bold, not the meek. Blessed are the proactive and the ambitious, not those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who demand to be treated fairly, not the merciful. Blessed are those with a single and driving ambition, not those who are pure of heart. Blessed are those who have high quality of life, not the persecuted. Blessed are those who have a good reputation, not those who are reviled and slandered. Friends and followers of disciples of Jesus, I want us to take him at his word and put upside down the Beatitudes to test. The life of a disciple is a progress of shifting our status from being a fan to a friend. Jesus is specific scenes and situations of our daily lives. I wonder, this week I made me think about this poem by Martin Niemöller. When they came for the communist, I remained silent. When I was not a communist. When they locked up the social democrats, I remained silent. I was not a social democrat. When they came for the trade unionists, I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the Jews, I remained silent. I wasn't a Jew. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak out. We are in serious times where we need to manifest the humble dependence on God's grace. God can make us contributors to the divine reign on earth. Let's see what happens as friends and followers of Jesus when we cry, not just our personal sorrows, but those of all who are subjected to injustices and are moved to do something about it. Let's just see what happens when we embrace meekness, not as passivity, but as proactive, humbly. That is the key ingredient of leadership. Let's just see what happens when we hunger and thirst to see right prevail and put our actions behind our craving for justice.
Yes, amen, that's right.
Let's just see what happens when we embrace compassion and forgiveness, recognizing them as actions, not just attitudes. Let's just see what happens when we seek God or ask God to continually purify us from the inward motives, from our actions, and not merely our attitudes. Let's just see what happens when we work for peace in the midst of people and communities in conflict. Let's just see what happens when we pray to have the heart of a lion and the skin of a rhinoceros, and able to withstand the criticism in service of God's calling in our lives. Let's just see what happens, saints, when we show up.
Show up.
When we show up. Jesus can be our friend. Let's see what happens when we turn from fan to friend and follow Jesus. Fans of Jesus can't be bothered to bear the light of Jesus to a hurting world. But friends, they're different. There's a different story. Let your life be that. That will be the different story. The light of Christ. Let's just see what happens.